Hello, my name is Sam Levitt. I'm the ESG product lead here at Amenity Analytics, part of Symphony. I want to walk you through our 2022 highlight blog that I wrote, looking at very high level ESG topics in 2022 and what to watch for in 2023. So to start with, we are going to keep this very focused on market and macro trends. So there are some specific stories and companies we can point out, but as this being a high level overview, we're going to stick to the large points in our data. To give you an idea of what we do, we look at news, earnings calls, press releases, and SEC filings at a ESG level, looking for specific topics, phrases, contextual NLP that run through our models, and then we structure that data by applying tags, taxonomy, and sentiment to our data output. So our first theme for 2022 that we wanted to look out for that we're reviewing is materiality and greenwashing. So there's been an highly increased level of mentions of green portfolios, ESG assets, as well as scrutiny by the SEC, scrutiny from investors, and scrutiny from consumers, not just in the financial services space, but at all different sectors. So we've seen a drastic increase in green portfolios. These are coupled with increases in things like price fixing allegations, particularly in the meatpacking and food sectors. So there's a lot of things to watch out for in 2023 from a greenwashing and materiality perspective. Looking at resource and materials use, there's a lot of increased mention around things like sustainable sourcing, sustainable packaging, particularly in the consumer goods space, and there's also an increased discussion around water reuse. A lot of areas around the world are becoming more water scarce. So late in 2022 is when we really started to see more of a discussion around reusing water, desalination projects, that kind of thing, to go along with sustainable sourcing and regenerative agriculture that we saw for resource and materials use. Human capital was another huge topic, increase from 2021 to 2022. Unionization, I think, was the one that grabbed the most headlines. But in quarter four, especially, we saw increased mentions of child labor. And this was on a few different sectors. This was in manufacturing, as well as food services. And it was also taking place in the US. So that is something to watch out for as well. This presents a huge risk to companies from a legal standpoint, from a reputational standpoint, and that was something that was really surprising to see in quarter four, especially in the U.S. Clean technology beyond wind and solar, I think, is an area of ESG that gets a lot of news, a lot of headlines, particularly in the EV space. As we can see here, that was our largest topic increase was electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging, but also getting a lot of attention was green hydrogen. That's a topic that we've been focusing on for the past few years. What kinds of companies are innovating in this kind of space? It might be surprising to see that it's not just energy companies, but industrials and materials also see hydrogen as the go-to fuel of the future for a lot of these larger industrial applications, as opposed to the electric vehicle route. And then in quarter four, especially, we saw a big increase in discussion around geothermal power within the U.S., but also some global companies being interested in exploring this technology more. So hydrogen and geothermal are two areas that we want to keep an eye on in 2023, along with decarbonization and electrification efforts. Our fifth topic for 2022, I think we saw occur very very profoundly in many different ways. External macroeconomics moving company behavior. I think to start 2022 with the war in Ukraine and Russia, this left a lot of countries and companies rethinking their energy roadmaps on renewables, and saw a lot of investment in offshore wind, especially in Europe, to start 2022. In the U.S., the Inflation Reduction Act, putting subsidies in place for renewable energy. We've seen a lot of reshoring and electric vehicle manufacturing. Supply chains for electric vehicle batteries have been moving towards North America and the U.S. as a result of these subsidies. So I think the Inflation Reduction Act, from an environmental lens in ESG, was one of the more profound moments that we've seen in moving company behavior. And especially there's a big bump in stock prices for renewables and electric vehicle stocks around that time as well. I think prices have since gone down since then. But when that act was passed, there were some big short-term gains in the market that we saw, at least. So our outlook for 2023, we looked at our topic changes from 2021 to 2022 over tens of thousands of data points that our models aggregate. What is on the horizon for 2023? So revisiting our 5 themes, we're going to keep that same format. I think one, we're going to see increased emphasis on greenwashing and information. How are companies communicating their ESG narrative, and how does that stack up to the reality of what the market is saying about those issues as well? And we're breaking materiality out into a second topic in and of itself. Where are companies finding value? Where are they building core business models around ESG themes? I think the materials and industrial sector is a great example, and how companies are switching towards hydrogen as a renewable energy source for operations, but also as an additional business line and somewhere they can see driving revenues in the future. I think human capital as well, that's going to continue to be a big topic around employee engagement, unionization efforts. Labor in the supply chain is all going to be something that people will be taking a harder look at in 2023. I think 4 is it's pretty common. Carbon transition and ESG go hand in hand. This goes along with our green hydrogen topic, our geothermal topics, and general electrification efforts. And then number 5, resource and materials use, everything from reducing plastic, conserving water, recycling and supply chains for EVs, batteries especially, is something that we're going to see a lot more of. And then, from a macro trend, we're not going to, have that as one of our, 5 themes because it's so broad. But I think macroeconomics are going to play a big part in what's to come for 2023. So thanks for watching. I'm Sam Levitt at Amenity Analytics, part of Symphony. And if you want to learn more about what we do, feel free to reach out, schedule a demo. Always happy to talk more. Thanks for watching.